New clashes on the streets of Minneapolis this weekend as Governor Tim Walz mobilizes the state's National Guard, and the Pentagon readies 1,500 soldiers to be deployed to that state. This as the DOJ has launched an investigation into Governor Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey for allegedly impeding ICE agents' ability to carry out their duties. For more on the situation on the ground, let's bring in Minnesota State Senator Steve Drazkowski and his constituent Dirk Cedergren. Thank you both for joining the Sunday briefing this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this morning, the Pentagon, as we mentioned, readying up to 1,500 troops to deploy if the president invokes the Insurrection Act. You've got clashes between protesters and federal law enforcement officers continuing here after a federal judge has limited what federal agents can do to control these protesters. Here's what Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said this morning on Fox News Sunday.
They're throwing rocks at ICE officers. They are standing in the roadway when they try to drive by. They're putting their vehicles in the roadway while they try to drive by. So if a judge tells ICE officers not to violate the constitutional rights of protesters, we got it. Instead of going after ICE officers, what should be happening is local leaders should be sending law enforcement out to stop the protesters from assaulting ICE officers for doing nothing except for their job.
Senator Drazkowski, I'll ask you, should President Trump invoke the Insurrection Act?
You know, I'll leave that, Jackie, up to the president and his ability to exercise prudence. These people have taken over the Democrat Party here. They're pervasive throughout the Walz administration, and they're populating and directing the Democrat majority in our legislature. They have no respect for the rule of law or the people tasked with upholding it. I think the important thing is that the president continue on his path and do the best that he can to make sure that the people finish their job. And I'm sure he will exercise prudence as he has done repeatedly.
Yeah, you've got the Department of Justice now investigating Minnesota officials, including Governor Walz and also Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, for allegedly impeding law enforcement's ability to do their jobs. Walz told people to collect evidence against ICE in a special address this week, and a tipster reported this email to city employees Friday, alleging, this tipster says, they are working with protesters within the city to help them track down ICE operations. This seems like they are complicit in helping impede ICE agents. Would they like it if we impeded and told people where Minneapolis police officers were trying to do their work? This seems like it is an insurrection. That's what the tipster said. Dirk, what is your sense on the ground? You know, you're a resident business owner there. Do you see a coordinated effort among Minnesota officials to try to impede ICE from doing their jobs?
Well, Governor Walz on the 14th did an address on TV, and it was a very inflammatory statement. All the things he used about pregnant women being dragged through the streets, and ICE is untrained or poorly trained. I know people that in the Rochester school system, about 75 miles south, are being told to impede ICE and to hide vulnerable students from ICE. I have another person I know who works in the Minneapolis school system who had a meeting, and they were told to, if ICE showed up, they were to lock the doors and not let them in, impeding federal agents.
This is coming from school officials to school employees, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, wow. Mayor Frey said that this probe about, allegations of impeding ICE is meant to intimidate him. Governor Walz made the case that the DOJ is being weaponized by the Trump administration. He said, quote, 2 days ago it was Alyssa Slotkin. Last week it was Jerome Powell. Before that, Mark Kelly. Weaponizing the justice system and threatening political opponents is a dangerous authoritarian tactic. The only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her. Senator, I'll ask you, do you think that calmer heads would prevail if the FBI allowed state investigators access to this investigation or made it public?
No, I don't, Jackie. They have an agenda. Tim Walz is losing oil pressure rapidly. A large and growing number of Minnesotans would really like to see him in jail. And we will see articles of impeachment introduced in the Minnesota House when the legislature convenes on the 17th of next month. He is complicit in the theft of over $9 billion by many of the same people that have been attacking federal officers for the past 2 weeks. He will condition any sort of investigation that the state does in order to continue to try to fit the far left narrative, which is a small fraction of a minority of Minnesotans. Most of Minnesota, Jackie, is operating normal. The vast majority of it is. Tim Walz and Jacob Frey are continuing to put this forward and get it going to the point that their media operatives in Minnesota who help them support their narrative will keep that narrative going.
Dirk, I'll finish with you. You know, we heard the governor's call to residents of that state saying to, collect evidence against ICE. What are you telling your fellow citizens to do?
Listen, when a law enforcement officer, whether he's federal, state, local, asks you to do something, follow the commands. It's real easy. If they ask for identification, give them identification. If they ask you to leave, leave. I know I've had staff members come up to me and say, what do I do? And I'll just said, follow the rules. It's real easy. You won't get arrested.
And Senator, any last word with just about 15 seconds left?
As I mentioned, Minnesota would like to see the law enforced. This is our opportunity. The reluctance, or actually resistance, the word that Governor Walz used, the resistance that the Democrats have been placing in front of the rule of law needs to end, and Minnesotans are yearning for these criminals to be removed from our presence and put away.
It was great talking to you both, Minnesota State Senator Steve Drazkowski and resident Dirk Cedergren. It was great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining the Sunday Briefing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.